This government has a long history of support for the labor movement in Bermuda. The support of the Bermudian workforce and recognition of the fundamental rights of all workers has not changed. However, as government, we must act to deliver expected public services. The government has drafted, introduced, and passed laws that protect labor, labor rights, its workers, and the movement itself. Today, we remain committed to working on resolving the current impasse. Over the last few days, you have heard me say several times that on September 21st, the DPT management updated the Labor Department that the original safety and health concerns raised by the BIU bus division had been resolved. Subsequently, DPT was then informed that the BIU members would continue to withhold their labor, citing that they needed to be paid for the entire time they were out. The BIU bus division president remained adamant that his request to his co-chair counterpart for the DPT Safety and Health Committee was not action. I believe it would be helpful to note that at no time did he require her approval to arrange such a meeting. To be clear, as a co-chair himself, he has the power to call the meeting. DPT informed Labor Relations on Tuesday of last week that safety and health issues had been resolved. Management addressed the workers' concerns by sharing the current cleaning policy. The policy is that buses are cleaned when they sit for more than 20 minutes at any bus depot. Contracted cleaning staff come daily from 4:30 p.m. to midnight and comprehensively clean out every bus. This is done 7 days a week. They also have electrostatic sprayers, and additionally, the administrative offices are cleaned by an outside cleaning company. All the offices, hallways, stairwells, drivers' restrooms, bathrooms, shower stalls, kitchen, etc. are cleaned each and every evening. This has been the practice for years, and all in accordance with the Ministry of Health's guidelines. In fact, the DPT's cleaning goes above what is required by the Ministry of Health in these COVID times. Additionally, the BIU bus division cited Section 7A and 7C of the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1982 for their actions. It would be remiss of me not to highlight Section 7B of the Act, which speaks explicitly to the procedure to be followed. If the BIU had followed the process, they should have remained available for work until the outcome of any investigation of their concerns. If the investigation found that their actions were warranted, they would have been entitled to be paid. There was never any legal reason that justified DPT workers failing to carry out their duties as employees. The Occupational Safety and Health Act 1982 or its regulations does not support the bus division's position. In this circumstance, the government is entitled to deduct DPT employees' pay pursuant to both common law and Section 83C of the Employment Act 2000. This means the government is not required to pay the employees for any part of their time away from work. The ministry stands by its policy of no work, no pay. It must be appreciated that in filling this mandate to protect the interests of the people that they represent, which is the general public, I have activated the ministry's emergency transportation plan. Today, minibuses will be driving the core bus routes 1, 3, 7, 8, 10, and 11 from 7 o'clock this morning until 7 o'clock this evening, with all routes scheduled on the hour, every hour. The service is free to commuters. The minibuses are operating by the Ministry of Health's guidance for public transportation. Therefore, commuters will already be familiar with requirements for mask wearing and hand sanitizer. The matter has been referred to the Employment and Labor Relations Tribunal for settlement. We anticipate that the bus service will return to the regularly scheduled service tomorrow. Thank you for that, and I'm open to any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. We'll take Trevor Lindsay, who's been on the story. Trevor, are you there? First, Trevor, followed by the Royal Gazette. Hi, Trevor, we hear you.
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Minister, has you reached a solution or there's no solution?
There's no current solution resolution in regards to the pay dispute, but the fact that the Minister of Labor has gazetted the matter means that they are entitled to go back to work, or it would definitely be deemed unlawful work stoppage.
So what is your course of action if they don't return to work tomorrow?
We will stand the minibuses up again.
So this has been an impasse for the last 10 days. The Persian government is unable to work things out, willing or to work things out unwillingly with the labor, with labor. Which is it? My question is, it's been a challenge for the government, a labor government, with a dispute with labor. To what extent will you go to work this matter out before it, well, I guess it couldn't get no worse. How far will you go, Minister?
The fact that we are a labor government and the fact that we support labor is one thing, but we cannot support as government unlawful work stoppage. And so what we will do, we have exercised every option under the Trade Union Act for labor disputes and resolution. And so now we will just once again continue to allow the process to take its course and help find resolution through the process.
Minister, this rift between organized labor and the labor government is deepening. I guess it's the same question. When do you expect a resolution?
We will get a resolution as soon as the process allows. We're just going through the process, trusting the process that has been put in place for such disputes just like this.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll leave it right there. Thank you, Minister.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Trevor Lindsay, TNN. Now we will go to the Royal Gazette. Gareth Finnegan from the Royal Gazette, who's joining us now. Gareth, ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. Thank you, Tina. Just a couple of technical questions for you. First of all, Minister. First of all, how much is the laying on the minibuses? How much is that costing a day?
To be honest, right now we have estimated that it costs roughly $8,000 for the day.
And if you said if the bus drivers don't show up tomorrow, you'll just keep on running it indefinitely? I
don't know about indefinitely, but remember, this is an emergency contingency plan, which is not made to be run on a sustainable basis. So once again, we will run it for as long as it is necessary.
Okay, thank you. Now, one other thing, when the arbitration order was gazetted today, it mentioned bus operators, but it didn't mention marine and ports workers. Was that an oversight?
No, that was not an oversight. A dispute has not been registered in regards to marine and ports.
But they are taking the same action as the bus operators, as transport workers, in support of them. So does it apply to them, or can ferry workers continue to stay off the job?
Right now, we are still in the earlier stages of conflict resolution in regards to marina ports. So therefore, we do not believe that right now there needs to be a dispute registered with the Ministry of Labor.
Okay. Now, the BIU has insisted, we're now to day 11, the BIU has always insisted that this dispute arose over health and safety. And if you can recall, 10, 11 days ago, we had 40 odd people had died from COVID. We were getting new cases in the hundreds every day. The BIU, the bus division of the BIU, had 30, 40 people off sick because of COVID related illness. Do you have any sympathy at all with that argument that, look, this is all about health and safety? Because it seems to me that you're sort of you're picking up on a technicality when you say that, well, technically under Section 7C, this downing of tools, this work stoppage is illegal. Do you think that regardless of what the laws say, that yes, we can understand what the BIU has done, we can understand what they were feeling and why they did it, and so therefore, perhaps we can sort of, I don't know, meet in the middle or something, because you seem to be just very firmly putting down the shutters on this whole issue of pay.
I want to start off by saying that I am sympathetic from somebody who has personally lost a close family member to COVID and even lost close friends to COVID. I understand the anxiety. I understand the concern. But at the same time, we have to be sure that we follow the process. And that's all we're asking. Government is saying, if you have a concern, raise it. We're not saying don't raise any concerns. We're not saying that concerns are not valid. But what we do is that one, DPT in this instance has gone above and beyond from the very beginning to ensure that there is a safe work environment. The Ministry of Health then came in as an independent party and did an investigation and review and determined that there was no imminent danger to the health and safety of the operators. And so therefore, this is why we are ensuring, or we would like to just stress that we would like for them to follow the process. Cleaning was already done. Cleaning was being done. Buses cleaning was done every day from 4:30 p.m. to midnight.
I think Mr. Ferbert said at today's press conference that it wasn't done to the satisfaction of bus operators until several days after this dispute started. I think the dispute started on Friday the 17th, and then it was only, I think the following Tuesday, 5 days later, when the buses were actually sort of went through a 2-day cleaning process, thorough cleaning process, and that's what the BIU was asking for. And then once that was done, they were satisfied to go back to work. But now you have this whole issue of, well, shall we or shall we not get paid? Is that fair comment?
No, that's not a fair comment. The fact that the cleaning that was done, that they observed, was the same cleaning that was going on the whole time. So therefore, if it was satisfactory to them when they saw it, it means it was satisfactory prior to them actually going and observing the cleaning, because it's the exact same cleaning. Nothing was changed. And so therefore, the government believes that this process or this dispute could have been resolved without having to disrupt the service. And the fact that the proper process, had the proper process been followed, the resolution would have been the same. They would have been happy with the mitigating factors that DPT was taking, and they would have been able to do that and seeing that without having to disrupt the service. And so that's why we have to focus on process and policy, because if we don't, we would descend into anarchy.
Just two quick questions for you, Minister. Again, this morning at this morning's BIE press conference, BIE President Chris Ferbert said that had they followed procedure and addressed their concerns and had a meeting and put it in writing and what have you, it could have taken weeks for those issues to have been addressed and resolved. Again, I assume you think that's nonsense.
That's incorrect. The fact that the division president himself can call the meeting at any time should speak to how swiftly it could be resolved. And he is the co-chair of the Health and Safety Committee. He called a meeting. They asked him for an agenda. What was the agenda going to be? And he never responded. That is why the meeting did not happen.
And one final question. You mentioned at the start of this press conference that the Progressive Labour Party has always been very supportive of the labour movement. But again, referring back to what Mr. Ferbert said at this morning's press conference, he's suggested that perhaps the current leadership of the Labour Party, he wasn't criticising the party as a whole, but he said perhaps the current leadership has perhaps lost roots with its base support, and it's moving away from support of Labour. He actually likened the current leadership to the former OBA government, and he said that the current government appears to be it's listening, but it's not hearing what people are saying. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's disappointing that he feels that way. The way that we see it and the way that I see it is that this government will always support labor. As I've stated before, we have drafted, introduced, and passed legislation which has enhanced the labor movement itself. And so therefore, we are not departing from our roots, but we must hold each other accountable. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. And so therefore, we have to make sure that we follow the necessary policies and the necessary procedures in order to make sure that things are done correctly, right, and as safe as possible.
Yes, thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Garrett. Minister Trevor has come back. He's got 2 quick questions for you.
No problem.
All right, let me let him in. All right. He's coming on. Trevor, go ahead to your 2 quick
yes.
questions.
Thank you. Minister, thank you for having me back. Minister, if there is no resolution, is it that government is unable to come to an agreement with the Bermuda Industrial Union, or is it unwilling to put any more time into this matter?
The government will put as much time and as much resources behind this matter to find a mutually agreed upon and suitable solution. And so we're not just going to wash our hands of it, but we are going to explore every option in which we can make sure that a resolution is reached. But we once again must stand by our policy that if you do not follow the grievance procedure, if you do not follow the procedures within legislation, and you withhold your labor unlawfully, we cannot support you or pay for that time that you have withheld your labor. By the legislation itself, the government is not required to pay for time that is not worked, and that's pursuant to both common law and the Employment Act, Section 8(3)(c) of the Employment Act 2000.
My last question, how much is this costing the taxpayers for these minibus service to step in?
It is costing roughly $8,000 a day. However, it is coming out of the cost savings that are not running.
Thank you. Cheers. Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, TNN. Thank you, Royal Gazette. Minister, any final words before we wrap up the press conference?
Just want to thank everybody for their time. And once again, I want to stress that the health and safety concerns were taken seriously, and it was resolved after a conversation and after just an observation of the cleaning procedures and policy that DPT has had in place for years. And so therefore, this is why we stand by our statement and we stand by our position that this could have been resolved without the disruption of bus service to those persons who rely on it the most. And it's just the government, not against labor, but it's the government protecting the interest of the people who they represent. And in that case, that is the general public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes our press conference. Thank you.